All right. So first, I want to say thank you for tuning in and deciding to educate yourself a little bit today. I'm really excited to dive in today's Fit Focus Forum. It is cardio versus weightlifting and what actually gets you leaner. So this one's going to hit close to home for a lot of you because I know that we've all at some point sprinted our hearts out thinking it was the fastest way to get lean. And hey, cardio does have its place, but if you've been leaning on it as your main weight loss strategy in the past, then you're in the right place. So let's jump right in. I want to talk about the fact that I used to live on an indoor bike. I did double spin classes. I even became a master educator for indoor cycling. I did fasted cardio at 6 a.m. before teaching main studio group fitness classes, and I was completely burnt out. But for most of us, no one ever explained the difference between weight loss and fat loss or how muscle works into that equation. So let's change that for you today. Why everyone thinks cardio equals fat loss. So let's start by looking at where this myth even came from. First of all, we have visible sweat equals visible fat loss. People associate being drenched in sweat with burning more calories, and they're not entirely wrong. But sweat is about thermal regulation or cooling the body and not about fat burn. You're not sweating out fat, you're actually just losing water. Also, cardio burn numbers, they look sexy, right? The elliptical tells you that you just torched 600 calories, but those machines are notoriously inaccurate, sometimes by up to like 42%, depending on the person's weight, their stride, and their muscle mass. Meanwhile, strength training doesn't show you calories burned, but it sets your metabolism on fire for the next 24 to 48 hours. And we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. Then we have fitness marketing and old school gym culture, the no pain, no gain. I'm sure we've all heard that before. Go hard or go home. I can't tell you how many times I screamed that in a group fitness class, or fat burn zone, right? These phrases were marketed to get people on cardio equipment. And why is that? Because it's easy to sell machines and it's easy to sell memberships to gyms. Meanwhile, muscle building requires guidance, it requires patience, and it has less flashy numbers. But it has far more powerful long-term change. And we can't leave out instant gratification versus delayed results. Cardio gives you immediate results on the scale. You've got water loss and you've got glycogen depletion, which can lead to a lower weight on the scale. Lifting, on the other hand, might actually make you gain weight at first. So the quick fix appeal is real. But fat loss and body recomposition aren't overnight games. They're physiological processes that reward patience and strategy. So let's talk about the science of fat loss then. To lose fat, you must be in a caloric deficit, but how you create that deficit really does matter. So let's break down your total daily energy expenditure, or your TDEE, or as referred to it often in the program, this is the same as your maintenance calories, right? The amount of calories that your body uses every single day. It has four pieces. And the first piece is called the basal metabolic rate. And this is your BMR. You've probably heard the acronym before. 70% of your daily burn is your BMR. Now, your BMR is the calories that your body burns just keeping you alive, breathing, digestion, organ function. And the higher your lean muscle mass is, the higher your BMR is. We also have the thermic effective food, or as we call it, TEF. This is how many calories your body burns when you eat. And it's around 10% of your total caloric burn for the day. Protein has the highest thermic effective food, meaning it burns the most calories just to digest it. And then you have exercise activity thermogenesis, or EAT, which is kind of funny, right? EAT as the acronym. This is 5 to 10% of your total daily caloric burn. And this is your workouts, okay? Yes, you heard it right. It's only 10% or less of your daily total. On top of that, the fourth one, we have non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. This is around 15% of your daily caloric burn. This includes things like walking, standing, cleaning, fidgeting, typing on your keyboard, using your mouse, tapping your feet, tapping your fingers on the desk. All of those small little innate movements that we do every single day, they add up to about 15% of your caloric burn throughout the course of the 24 hours. So this is massively underestimated, and it's more important than cardio in most cases. So I want to talk to you again, or also, excuse me, about this little thing called EPOC. It's excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. This is also known as the afterburn effect. So after lifting weights, your body uses more oxygen to restore muscle tissue. It also helps replenish ATP stores, and it returns hormones to their baseline. So if you don't know what ATP is, it's called adenosine triphosphate. I love getting scientific. This is just a molecule and it stores and transports energies within the cells. It's acting as a primary fuel source for almost all cellular functions, including muscular contractions, nerve impulses, and biochemical reactions. This can raise your metabolism for 24 to 48 hours, depending on training intensity, rep schemes, and rest periods. So the more muscle you have, the greater the EPOC. Cardio, once you stop, the burn stops. So weight training keeps the burn going. You're going to get higher EPOC from weight training than you're ever going to get from cardio. So this also has a hormonal impact. All right. Cardio in excess, especially fasted cardio, increases cortisol. We've talked about this before on other Fit Focus forums. This is your stress hormone, which can hinder fat loss and increase your muscle breakdown. Resistance training boosts testosterone and growth hormone in both men and women. Both support lean muscle and fat loss. We're talking about the hormonal impact, right? So resistance training, we just said, boosts testosterone and growth hormone in both men and women. Both support lean muscle and fat loss. Lifting regularly improves insulin sensitivity as well, which means better nutrient partitioning. Your body stores fewer calories as carbs, fewer carbs as fat and more in muscle. So nutrient partitioning actually refers to how your body decides where to send and store nutrients that you eat, mainly carbs, fat, and proteins, whether towards muscle growth, fat storage, energy use, or repair. Think of it as the body's internal decision-making process for what goes where. Okay, so let's talk about why strength training is the game changer. This is going to be a little bit shorter today just because we don't have more than one person on the call. And I usually do quizzes and stuff, but we're just going to power through today and give you like all of the good information that you need. So why strength training is a game changer? This actually helps you build more muscle, which is metabolic gold. So I want you to listen closely. 1 pound of muscle burns 6 to 10 calories per day. Not huge on its own, but if you add 10 pounds of lean tissue, you're burning 300 plus calories more per week doing nothing. Remember, your muscle, the amount of muscle mass that you have, is part of your total daily energy expenditure, and it makes up about 70% of your burn, right? All of those things that it takes to keep your body alive, including your breathing, your cellular function, all of that stuff. So if you have more muscle, then you're going to burn more fat. Muscle improves metabolic flexibility, which is your body's ability to efficiently switch between using carbohydrates and fat for energy, depending on what's available. So the more muscle you have, the better your body becomes at adjusting to different food sources, different energy demands, and irregular hormones. So this is good for things like traveling. When you have to skip meals, eating out, or drinking, your body will adjust without storing excess fat or crashing in energy. Muscle also preserves lean mass in a deficit. So when you're losing weight, your body can break down both fat and muscle. Lifting weights sends a signal to hold on to the muscle and burn fat instead. All right. Cardio without resistance training actually increases your risk of looking skinny fat. You're going to be lighter, but you're still going to be soft with a higher fat percentage because you haven't built any muscle. Muscle also improves glucose management and insulin sensitivity. Muscle soaks up glucose like a sponge post-lifting, reducing the likelihood of fat storage. When you eat carbs, your blood sugar rises. So how fast and how high depends on the type of carb and what you pair it with. And without muscle activity, a big spike can lead to excess insulin and fat storage. But after lifting, your muscles actually soak up all of that sugar really fast. This blunts the spike and you use it for repair and energy instead of storing it as fat. Muscles also equal better body composition, not just lower body weight. So lifting gets you lean, sculpted, and defined, not just smaller. Now, the goal here isn't weight loss, it's fat loss while maintaining and gaining muscle. All right. So why shouldn't you change your program every few weeks? We've touched on this in other Fit Focus forums as well, but it's very pertinent to today's conversation because muscle growth requires repetition and overload. So hypertrophy, which is the building of muscles, happens when your body's forced to adapt to the same movement under greater stress. So more reps, more weight, more time under tension. We did an entire Fit Focus forum on overload. So if you haven't watched it yet, look under the kettlebell tab in your app and you'll get a lot more information on what we're talking about here. Constant program hopping resets your adaptation. And so you stay sore, but you're not getting stronger because you don't have that progressive overload. Progressive overload equals measurable change. You don't need like 75 new exercises. You just need the exercises in your program, 6, 8, 10 of them, right? Increasing the weight, slowing the tempo, reducing the rest, adding sets to those exercises. That's progression. That's going to make you stronger. That's how you're going to get progressive overload. And that's how you're going to build muscle. And what's more muscle mean? More fat burn. Just sitting still and doing nothing, which is my favorite thing to do sometimes. Consistency is also a winner here. Our clients who get the best results are not the most intense, but they're the most consistent. They show up week after week. They track their weights. They repeat their movements, even when it gets boring, even when it gets old, and even when it gets challenging. So it's okay to go after the hybrid approach. Where does cardio fit in? Let's be clear. We're not anti-cardio, okay? We are pro-strategy. So let's talk about a few different kinds of cardio so you understand what kind of cardio you're doing and what it does. So we're going to start with low intensity steady state, or you might see it listed as LISS, LISS. This is walking, and walking is criminally underrated. It's restorative, it's easy on the joints, and it lowers cortisol. It also helps digestion, energy, and fat oxidation as well. And all of you, unless you are already getting 8 to 10,000 steps to begin with, you all have a step goal that we're working towards building up to minimum 8,000 to 10,000 steps. We also have HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training. If you've ever been to a group fitness class or what is that? Fuel 45, I think I'm probably saying it wrong, or those pop-up like HIIT training places, then you've heard this before. HIIT training, HIIT training, HIIT training, right? This is short bursts of effort, which improves your VO2 max, your cardiovascular health. It may offer some EPOC as well. Remember, EPOC stands for excessive post-exercise oxygen consumption. If you don't know what VO2 max is, this is the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can use during intense exercise. And it's a key measure of cardiovascular fitness. The higher your VO2 max, the more efficiently your heart, lungs, and your muscles perform under stress. This is best used sparingly, though, and strategically, not daily, right? Because remember, we want to make sure that we're doing more strength training than cardio so that we're signaling to our body to build muscle. We have another thing called zone 2 cardio as well. This is great for longevity and fat metabolism. This is 45 to 60 minutes at a heart rate of about 120 to 140 BPMs. It supports recovery, aerobic capacity, and mental clarity. Zone 2 cardio trains your body to use fat more efficiently for fuel. It improves mitochondrial function and metabolic health over time. And it also builds a strong aerobic base, which helps your heart recover faster, making all of the other training feel easier. So the key takeaway here is to use cardio as a tool, not a crutch. You want to pair it with lifting and smart nutrition for optimal results. All right. So, the final takeaway I want to leave you here with is this. Strength training changes your metabolism. Cardio burns calories. Nutrition determines whether you lose or gain. And consistency is the multiplier for all of this. So the idea here is to stop chasing the burn and start chasing the strength.